Shannon, in your opinion, was this offensive pass interference?
Yes, it was. Because, Skip, anytime you extend your arm, it's offensive pass interference, and that's what we're taught. We're taught that if you're going to get separation, it's with the elbow, it's the nudge, it's not the extension, because they see that. And what P.J. Williams, the DB, was trying to do, Skip, we're also taught as a tight end, if you push me, I pull you to me. If you pull me to you, I'll push you off me. And when he tried to extend, he tried to grab his arm because he knows he's trying to create separation. Mm-hmm. Well, I need to close the separation by pulling you to me. Mm. Yeah, Skip, it was PI. It should have been called on the field. But Al Riveron said something very interesting, Skip. Listen to what he said. He said he looked at all angles that Fox afforded us. Fox, great job. They gave us some great views. There were contact by both players. None of it contact rose to the level of a foul. This is consistent with what we've done all year. We left the ruling on the field. We let it stand. He didn't say it wasn't pass interference. He said what the call on the field, that's what we normally would do, is be consistent with what they called on the field. So that's what we did. It was, I don't believe under any circumstance, he could have literally took two hands and shoved him down. I don't believe they're calling it. Not in that game, not in that situation.
Well, it was at New Orleans, so did they not owe New Orleans one? I don't know.
No, they said that's what you get for doing all that belly aching. Because you the reason we put this dumb rule in to begin with that had no benefit to no one other than to appease your fans, you, Sean Payton, and your owner, Miss Gail Benson. This was a dumb rule all along. Skip, it was PI. Because clearly he gained an advantage. He gained separation by stiff-arming P.J., I think his name P.J. Williams.
P.J. Williams.
P.J. Williams. Yep. He gained separation with the shove. You cannot extend. Once the extension is there, he gained an advantage, it's PI. But since they didn't call it on the field, as Al Riveron said, we're going to leave it, be consistent like we've been all year. We let the play stand. But it was an obvious PI.
Let me get this straight. If Shannon Sharpe had been the side judge or the back judge nearest to that play,
I'm throwing the flag.
You're throwing.
I'm throwing the flag.
Whew. Really?
I'm throwing the flag because it's obvious PI.
I would not have thrown that flag. I didn't think it in real time. I didn't think it after one look. And maybe I'm numb to the fact that all year long, hand fighting occurs on every play. And I didn't think it was enough of a push to become a shove where he gained an obvious advantage. He already had a huge advantage because he's 6'6", and P.J. Williams is 6 feet tall.
Right.
So he had a 6-inch advantage. And listen, Kyle Rudolph played basketball. He can get up. He made a catch against Dallas, if you remember, on the back line. Whew.
Right.
Wow. And listen, to Kirk Cousins' credit, I didn't think he had it in him.
Ow!
But he made two great throws in a row, and the first one was to Thielen, who, by the way, fumbled to open the game. And I thought that was the end of it for your team. And he atoned by making a really good catch, but it was a really good throw. Right. It couldn't have been anywhere to Thielen except there, and it couldn't have been anywhere to Kyle Rudolph except right where it was. Yeah. So to me, he did not gain a supreme advantage. It's not like he pushed him to the ground. It's not like P.J. Williams stumbled off the push. He was still on the play, and even if there had been a huge, even a bigger push, I just think Kyle Rudolph is going to catch that football.
Well, here's the thing, Skip. It's not how much of an advantage you gain, because you do realize in a situation like this, the NFL is a game of inches. And that's all the separation Kyle Rudolph needed. Like you said, he already had it decided. He has a 6-inch height advantage.
He did.
So if he puts the ball at the bare minimum 10 feet tall, P.J. Williams is not going to be able to get up there and get it.
But it already was not a fair fight.
Right.
It was not a level playing field between those two players.
Right.
And why? Remember, P.J. Williams is a backup corner. I don't know if you call him a nickel. He's not really a slot corner, but he's a backup corner.
Right.
But they were in full-on nickel that might have been closer to dime because it is cover zero blitz.
Zero, yeah. It was a big bomb.
And by the way, to Kirk Cousins' credit, the snap's a little off because he's trying to scan, and he doesn't come up clean with the snap. He had to sort of juggle the ball in his hands, and he knew exactly where he was going to have to go because he had a small cornerback on his tight end in single coverage.
And maybe that was, Skip, sometimes, like, that might have been a blessing in disguise. Because a lot of times guys run that route too quick. They don't realize that the guy's in the shotgun. So what it did is that it gave him an opportunity to set his feet. give Kyle Rudolph a little extra time, and he put the ball at the back pylon. It was a perfect throw.
And it was absolutely the correct choice.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Or in a situation like that.
Because if they just play zone, then Kyle Rudolph he's much easier to defend by two guys who can jump up and try to contest.
But once Cousins looked up, he's like, y'all in zero?
Zero.
You do realize
everybody is coming. Everybody's coming.
You do realize I got a former basketball player at 6'6" over here.
So he knew. And they also said after the game that was not primary on that play call.
It was once he saw who was over there.
No, I got it.
It's almost like a situation where you got a jump ball, you put Anthony Davis in the post, and you got a 6'2" guy on it.
Yeah.
Well, you just throw the ball up, and then you see that happens a lot. But Skip, we got to give we beat Cousins up.
Listen,
you have.
I'd like to hear it from both of you.
I have. I've beaten him up, and I did not see that coming. And I think we both thought that New Orleans was going to win that game going away.
I did.
And I thought early in the game there were a couple of points when I thought they were going to win it going away. And then all of a sudden, late in the first half, Drew Brees threw a pick down the middle. Remember, New Orleans set the all-time record for fewest turnovers in a football season this year.
Yes.
And then Drew Brees turned it over there when it looked like they were on the way to 17-6, which would have maybe been insurmountable.
Right.
And then in the fourth quarter, they're down 20-17, and he's driving. They got it all the way down to the 20, and he fumbled.
Yeah.
And again, it wasn't the ball knocked out of his hands. His arm got hit by Daniil Hunter, and maybe his thumb is not 1,000%, and he couldn't hold on to the football. But would you believe that Drew Brees, through 3 quarters of that football game, had 79 yards passing? Would you have bet a lot of money against that? Because I would have.
No, I wouldn't have either. But Skip, everybody asked, well, why do you pay? This is why.
Yeah.
This is why they gave Kirk Cousins a fully guaranteed $84 million contract. Because in the playoffs, Skip, there'll be a play. There'll be normally 2 plays, maybe 3, that a guy's going to have to make a play. Now, we're going to talk about a little later, Deshaun Watson. This is what makes him special. You're going to have to make a play. Russell Wilson, the DK Metcalf, a couple of those throws. There will be plays, Skip, that you got to make in a game of this magnitude on the road. But I think the biggest thing that they did is that if you look at Zim and what he did, Skip, he took some of his best pass rushers and he put them inside. He said, because Drew Brees wants to stay here. He wants to stay in this phone booth. Yep. He put Daniil Hunter. He put Griffithson on the guards. Now, guards are great run blockers, but the reason why Aaron Donald gets so many sacks, they're not as quick as Aaron Donald. So if you put a defensive end in there, Skip, and they do all that spinning and ripping, the next thing you know, they're in Drew Brees' lap. They're getting him off his spot.
So I congratulate Kirk Cousins, but I want to make the case you have to take into account the circumstance of yesterday.
What?
Nobody expected him to win that game. The expectations were less than 0 for the Vikings in that game, and it allows Kirk Cousins to play without expectation on his shoulder pads. He was not the $28 million a year man yesterday. He was Kirk Cousins, who was, by the way, 0-6 in overtime.
Yes.
He was 1-6 against my Dallas Cowboys in rivalry games. He was 0-4 against Dak Prescott. He was abysmal in any game of any magnitude that he had ever played in until then. And I think Kirk Cousins might have been the most surprised guy in the house when he flung it up into the ceiling and it came down in Thielen's chimney, right? It just came right down the chimney.
Skip, it's funny, but I'm watching this game and Gary Kubiak, who was the head offensive guy there, who doesn't call plays, and I'm like, this is Gary Kubiak.
Well, and he got a lot of credit on the broadcast.
Because when we go into a hostile environment on the road, Skip, we run the ball because we want to get the crowd out of it. We're not going to have a whole lot of checks, Skip, because we don't want to get them. They're going to start jumping around and the crowd's going to get even louder. We probably have one pass check. Because unless they give us something egregious and we know we can get a home run on it,
I agree.
We don't want a whole lot of movement. We don't hold a whole lot of checks.
We
just want to get up and they ran the football. We hadn't seen anybody run the ball on New Orleans like this all year. They ran the football. They were committed to running the football.
It worked.
Another good thing for Kirk Cousins. So, Kirk Cousins, I liked that.
Oh, for Kirk.
I liked that.
Okay, for Kirk. He couldn't come to the guy.
And I would not have thrown that flag because just in my heart of hearts, Minnesota deserved to win that football game. They had played better than the Saints. And Kirk Cousins had dramatically outplayed Drew Brees. In fact, Drew Brees got outplayed by Taysom Hill on his own team. Am I right?
He did. Taysom Hill was.
So I think justice prevails.
All I know is Kid Kirk did something that I know a guy couldn't have never done.
Oh, is that
I ain't
what
gonna call his name, but I know a guy with a star in his helmet. He could have never gone to New Orleans and won a game.
Really?
Oh, that was a good
You mean the same guy
guys.
who beat Drew Brees
I'm so happy right now.
last year? Oh, yeah, that guy. Who led the NFL in game-winning drives his first 3 years.
And couldn't beat Teddy Bridgewater.
So
He couldn't even beat Teddy
right
Bridgewater,
now.
who rides a bike to the game.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.